They're beating my brother. Please, he's gonna die. A 6-year-old girl, barefoot, bleeding, dress torn, crashed through the gate of a biker bar and grabbed the leather vest of the most dangerous-looking man she could find. 12 Hell's Angels stood up at once. What happened next didn't just save one boy's life. It exposed a monster, destroyed a drug ring, and changed an entire town forever. But none of it would have happened if that little girl hadn't made one desperate, terrifying choice. Before we begin, subscribe, hit that bell, and follow this story all the way to the end. Drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Lily Carter was 6 years old, and she knew exactly what dying looked like. She'd seen it in her mama's face every time Travis came home drunk. She'd seen it in her brother Ethan's eyes when he'd step between Travis and mama, knowing he'd take the hits instead. She'd seen it in the way her mama packed bags in the middle of the night, hands shaking, whispering, "Don't make a sound, baby, not one sound." Lily knew what dying looked like. And right now, her brother was dying behind a gas station in the Arizona dust. 3 men, Ethan on the ground, boots coming down like hammers. "Run, Lily," Ethan had screamed, blood already on his teeth. "Don't look back, run!" So she ran, barefoot across gravel that cut her feet open, past the gas station pumps, past a pickup truck where a man sat scrolling his phone, not even looking up, past a woman loading groceries who turned away the second she saw the little girl's torn dress and wild eyes. Nobody helped. Nobody even stopped. Lily's lungs burned. Her feet left bloody prints on the asphalt, and somewhere behind her she could still hear it, the dull, heavy sounds of fists hitting her brother's body. Then she saw the motorcycles. 12 of them, chrome and black, lined up outside a roadside bar called Rusty's, like sleeping dragons. And through the patio fence, she saw the men, big men, leather vests, tattoos, beards, the kind of men her mama once said were dangerous. But mama also said something else once, a long time ago, back when things were still okay. If you're ever in real trouble, baby, you find the biggest, strongest people you can. You ask for help. Don't be afraid. Lily wasn't afraid. She was past afraid. She was in the place beyond fear, where the only thing left is action. She hit the patio gate so hard it slammed against the wall. Every head turned. Every conversation stopped. A glass broke somewhere. A woman gasped. Lily stood there, 6 years old, blonde pigtails half undone, pink sundress torn at the shoulder, feet bleeding, face streaked with tears and dirt, and she screamed with everything she had left. "Please help! They're beating my brother. He's just a kid. They're gonna kill him. Please!" Silence. The kind of silence that has weight. Jake Brennan was 42 years old, brown hair going gray at the temples. A scar from his left ear to his jaw, courtesy of a roadside bomb in Kandahar province in 2007. 2 tours in Afghanistan. 3 years in a VA hospital fighting demons that didn't wear uniforms. 15 years riding with the Hell's Angels, where he'd found the only brotherhood that understood what he'd lost and what he'd become. He was the club's sergeant-at-arms. He kept order. He solved problems. And right now, a problem had just run through the gate with blood on her feet and terror in her voice. Jake set his coffee down. "Where?" he said. Lily grabbed his vest with both hands. Small fingers, white knuckles, pulling with everything she had. "Behind the gas station. 3 men. My brother's on the ground. He can't get up. Please, mister, he can't get up." Jake looked at his brothers. Brick Morrison, 6'5", 280, blonde beard like something out of a Viking saga, was already standing. Tommy Vance, the club's road captain, had his phone out. Hector Ruiz, Denny Walsh, Cole Parker, all of them, 12 men rising from their chairs like a single organism, responding to a single signal. No one spoke. No one needed to. "Show me," Jake said to Lily. She grabbed his hand and pulled him toward the gate. A 6-year-old girl leading 12 Hell's Angels across a parking lot at a dead run. Her bloody feet slapping the asphalt, his boots pounding beside her. 11 more sets of boots behind him. The other customers at Rusty's sat frozen. A trucker with his fork halfway to his mouth. A couple holding hands across a table, not moving. An old man by the window who later told reporters, "It was like watching an army mobilize. I've never seen anything like it." Nobody from Rusty's followed to help. They just watched the bikers go. Lily ran. Jake matched her pace, resisting every instinct to sprint ahead, because this little girl had earned the right to lead this charge. She'd done what nobody else would do. She'd asked for help. 200 yards. That's how far Lily had run on bleeding feet to find someone who would listen. They rounded the corner of the gas station, and Jake saw it. Ethan Carter, 14 years old, brown hair, skinny, the kind of kid who hadn't grown into his height yet, all elbows and knees. He was on the ground, curled into a ball, arms wrapped around his head, and 3 grown men were kicking him. Not pushing, not shoving, kicking, like he was something they wanted to break. The biggest one, Travis Holden, 28, 6'2", 220, wearing a black tank top and jeans, drew his leg back and drove his boot into the boy's ribs. Ethan made a sound that Jake recognized. He'd heard it in combat. The sound a body makes when it's running out of the ability to absorb damage. Travis's 2 associates, Kyle Briggs and Ray Sutter, stood on either side, taking turns. Kyle was laughing. Ray was recording it on his phone. Recording it. Something inside Jake went very still, very quiet. The place he went when the world needed to be simplified into targets and responses. "Step away from the kid." His voice carried across the lot like a rifle crack. Flat, controlled. The voice of a man who had spoken those exact words through a dozen doorways in Helmand Province with his finger on a trigger. Travis looked up, saw Jake, saw the 11 men behind him, leather vests, Hell's Angels patches, faces that promised consequences. For 1 second, just one, something flickered across Travis's face, something that might have been fear. But Travis Holden was not a man who processed fear correctly. Travis Holden was a man who converted fear into rage. "Mind your own business," Travis said. "This is family." "He's 14 years old," Jake said, walking closer, "and you've got 3 grown men stomping on him. That's not family, that's a felony. You don't know what this kid did. You don't know anything about—" "I know enough." Jake stopped 10 feet away, close enough to act, far enough to assess. His brothers fanned out behind him, cutting off every exit. Brick positioned himself behind Kyle. Tommy blocked Ray. The net was already closed. Travis just didn't know it yet. "Walk away," Travis said. His voice had changed, harder now. The voice of a man calculating whether he could fight his way out. "Walk away right now, or you're going to have a real problem." "Brother," Jake said quietly, "I've had real problems. You're not one of them. Step away from the boy." Ethan moved on the ground. A small, broken sound. Lily screamed from behind the bikers. "Ethan! Ethan, I brought help! Hold on!" That scream, his little sister's voice, seemed to hit Ethan like electricity. He tried to lift his head. One eye was swollen shut. Blood ran from a gash above his eyebrow. His lip was split so badly a piece of it hung loose. He was 14, a child, and he looked up at his sister with his one good eye and said, "I'm okay, Lil. I'm okay." He wasn't okay. Everyone there knew it. Kyle Briggs made the first mistake. He reached behind his back and pulled a knife, a folding blade maybe 4 inches. He pointed it at Jake. "Back off, old man. I'll gut you." Brick Morrison moved like something that shouldn't be able to move that fast at 280 pounds. He closed the distance in 2 steps, caught Kyle's wrist, twisted it until the knife dropped, and put Kyle on the ground with a controlled takedown that had the mechanical precision of someone who'd done it 1,000 times. Kyle screamed. His wrist was bent at an angle that said it wouldn't be working right for a long time. Ray Sutter saw this and ran. He made it 11 feet before Hector Ruiz and Cole Parker cut him off from both sides. Ray tried to duck left. Hector's arm caught him across the chest. Ray hit the ground hard enough to knock the phone out of his hand. Travis was alone now, his two friends down, 12 bikers surrounding him, a beaten child at his feet. And instead of surrendering, instead of putting his hands up, instead of any rational human response, Travis Holden smiled. "You think this changes anything?" he said. "You think you can protect them? I found them once. I'll find them again. She belongs to me. The kids belong to me. You can't." Jake hit him. One punch. Right hand. The mechanics of it were almost beautiful. Weight shifting from the back foot, hips rotating, fist connecting with the point of Travis's jaw in a clean, precise arc that transferred every pound of Jake's 190 frame to a single point of contact. Travis dropped. Not dramatically, not cinematically. He just stopped being vertical. His legs gave out. His eyes rolled. He hit the asphalt like a bag of sand falling off a truck. Quiet. Then Lily's voice, small and shaking. "Is the bad man down?" "He's down, sweetheart," Jake said. "He's staying down." Jake knelt beside Ethan. The boy was trying to sit up and failing. His arms were shaking. His breathing was wrong. Short, hitching gasps that meant rib damage. "Easy, son. Don't try to move. What's your name?" "Ethan. Ethan Carter." "Ethan, I'm Jake. We're gonna get you help, okay? Just stay still." "My sister." "She's right here. She's safe. She's the one who found us." Ethan's one good eye found Lily. She was standing behind Brick, clutching the big man's vest the way she'd clutched Jake's, like leather and patches were the safest thing in the world. "You did it, Lil," Ethan whispered. "You actually did it." "I found the bikers," Lily said, "just like Mama said." Tommy Vance was already on the phone with 911. Denny Walsh had pulled a first aid kit from his saddlebag. Bikers carry them. The road teaches you that fast. And was pressing gauze to the gash on Ethan's forehead. Cole Parker stood over Travis, not touching him, just making sure he stayed down. Jake pulled out his phone and dialed the county sheriff's department directly. He knew the number by heart. The Hells Angels had ridden with Sheriff Dan Whitmore's department on Veterans Memorial rides for 6 years. Toy drives at Christmas. Fundraisers for the K-9 unit. Jake and Whitmore weren't friends exactly, but they had something better. Mutual respect built on actions, not words. "Dan, it's Jake Brennan. I'm at the Texaco station on Route 66, half-mile east of Rusty's. We've got a 14-year-old boy beaten badly, 3 attackers. We've detained all 3. One had a knife. The boy needs an ambulance. Send everything you've got." 3 minutes, Whitmore said. No questions. He'd ask those later. Right now, a kid was hurt. Jake hung up and looked at Ethan. The boy was going gray. Shock was setting in. His body was starting to shut down non-essential functions to protect the core. Jake had seen it in soldiers. He'd felt it himself. "Ethan, stay with me. Talk to me. Tell me about your sister." "Lily," a ghost of a smile. "She's the brave one. Always has been." "I believe that. What else?" "She draws. All the time. Crayons. She drew a picture of our house once. The one we had before Travis." "Tell me about the house." "Yellow. Mama painted it yellow because Lily said it looked like sunshine." "That's nice. Keep talking. Tell me about your mama." "She's a nurse. She helps people. That's what she does." Ethan's voice cracked. "She tried so hard to get us away from him. Moved us twice. New towns, new schools. He kept finding us." Jake's jaw tightened. "How long?" 3 years. Since I was 11. He was nice at first. They always are, right? Then he wasn't. Then he was the worst person I've ever known." Lily had crept forward and was kneeling beside her brother now, holding his hand. Her tears had stopped. Her face had that look Jake had seen on soldiers who'd passed through fear into something harder. Focus. Survival. "Don't talk about him, E," Lily said. "Talk about Mama. Talk about the yellow house." "She got a restraining order," Ethan continued, like he needed to say it, like the words had been trapped inside him for years. 3 times. He violated it every time. She called the police. They came. They filed reports. They left. He came back. "The system failed you," Jake said. "Yes, sir. Every time." Sirens now, getting closer. Travis groaned on the ground, starting to come around. Kyle was crying, cradling his wrist. Ray sat motionless between Hector and Cole, all the fight gone out of him. "Ethan, I need you to listen to me." Jake leaned closer. "The ambulance is coming. They're going to take care of you. And I need you to know something." "What?" "Your sister just did the bravest thing I've seen in my entire life. And I've been to war. She ran on bleeding feet across 200 yards of gravel to find strangers who might help. She didn't stop. She didn't give up. She grabbed my vest and she told me what was happening, and she led us straight here." Ethan squeezed Lily's hand. "That's my sister." "That's your sister," Jake repeated, "and nobody is going to hurt either of you again." It was a promise he had no right to make. He knew that. He was a biker, not a cop, not a lawyer, not a social worker. He was a man with a leather vest in a club and a motorcycle parked outside a bar. But he made the promise anyway, because some promises aren't about what you can guarantee. They're about what you're willing to fight for. The ambulance arrived at 10:24 a.m. 2 paramedics, a man and a woman, assessed Ethan with practice speed. Possible concussion, probable rib fractures, laceration requiring stitches, significant bruising to the abdomen. Internal bleeding couldn't be ruled out. They loaded him onto a stretcher. Lily climbed in beside him without asking permission. Nobody stopped her. The female paramedic looked at Jake. "Family?" "His sister. Don't separate them." "Wasn't planning to." Sheriff Whitmore pulled up as the ambulance doors closed. He stepped out, surveyed the scene. 3 men on the ground, 12 bikers standing over them, blood on the asphalt, and nodded once at Jake. "Talk to me." Jake told him. Everything. The girl crashing into Rusty's, the run to the gas station, what they found, Kyle's knife, Travis's words, one punch. Whitmore listened without interrupting. Then he walked over to Travis, who was sitting up now, jaw swelling, eyes murderous. "Travis Holden, we've got active warrants on you, 3 restraining order violations, 2 pending assault charges from Nina Carter, and now," Whitmore gestured at the blood on the ground where Ethan had been, "aggravated assault on a minor, with witnesses." "I want a lawyer," Travis said. "You'll get one. You'll need one." Whitmore cuffed him, then he cuffed Kyle, then Ray. As Travis was led to the cruiser, he locked eyes with Jake. The smile was back. That wrong, broken smile that said nothing was over. "Tell Nina I said hello. Tell her I'll see her soon. Tell her I always find her." Jake didn't respond, but he memorized that smile, filed it away in the same place he kept the faces of men who'd tried to kill him in Afghanistan. The place where threats were cataloged and never, ever forgotten. Whitmore pulled Jake aside after the cruisers left. "Jake, I need you to know something about Travis Holden." "I'm listening." "He's not just an abusive ex-boyfriend. We've had him on our radar for other reasons, things I can't fully discuss. But I'm telling you, this man has resources, friends, money that doesn't come from any legal job. He's made bail twice on charges that should have held him. He's got connections in places that make my job very difficult." "What are you saying, Dan?" "I'm saying he'll make bail again, probably within 48 hours. And when he does, he's going to come looking for Nina and those kids. And the system..." Whitmore's voice carried something Jake rarely heard from the sheriff. frustration, shame. The system isn't built to stop men like him. It's built to process them, file them, release them, and hope for the best. Jake stared at the blood stain on the asphalt where a 14-year-old boy had been kicked like an animal. Then we'll have to do what the system can't. Jake, I'm not talking about anything illegal, Dan. I'm talking about making sure a woman and her 2 kids don't get murdered because the justice system treats restraining orders like suggestions. Whitmore held his gaze for a long moment. Then he reached into his cruiser and pulled out a card. Nina Carter works at Flagstaff Medical Center, nursing staff. She gets off at 3. She doesn't know what happened to her kids yet. Jake took the card. I'll find her. Jake, Whitmore's voice stopped him. That little girl, the one who ran into Rusty's? Lily. She chose you. All those people in that parking lot, all those customers in the diner, she ran past every single one of them and chose the Hells Angels. Whitmore paused. Don't make her wrong about that. Jake put the card in his vest pocket, right next to the patch over his heart. I won't. He walked back to his brothers, who were still standing in the gas station lot, waiting. 12 men, leather and chrome, and years of road behind them. Not one of them had left. Not one of them had said, not our problem. Not one of them had looked at a bleeding child and walked the other way. What now? Brick asked. Jake looked at the blood on his right knuckle, looked at the empty ambulance bay, looked at the small, bloody footprints a 6-year-old girl had left on the asphalt, a trail that led from here, across the parking lot, all the way to Rusty's patio gate. 200 yards of courage from a child who had nothing left but faith that strangers would help. Now, Jake said, we finish what she started. 12 bikes carved through Flagstaff like a single blade. Jake rode point, the card Sheriff Whitmore gave him tucked inside his vest pocket. Flagstaff Medical Center, nursing staff, gets off at 3. It was 11:47 a.m. Nina Carter had no idea what had happened to her children, and Jake was about to destroy her world before he could help her rebuild it. The hospital parking lot was half full. Jake killed his engine. Brick pulled up beside him, visor up, eyes asking the question. Just me, Jake said. Rest of you stay with the bikes. A dozen Hells Angels walking into a hospital scares people. What are you going to tell her? The truth. That's going to break her, brother. She's already broken, Brick. Travis has been breaking her for 3 years. This is just the part she can see. Jake walked through the automatic doors, past the reception desk, past a security guard who clocked his vest and stiffened. He didn't care. He'd walked into worse places wearing worse things. I'm looking for Nina Carter, nursing staff. The receptionist hesitated. Are you family? Her son is in your emergency department right now, beaten by 3 men. I'm the one who stopped it. She needs to know. Something in his voice, or maybe something in his face, made the receptionist pick up the phone without another question. 4 minutes later, a woman came through the staff door. Blonde hair pulled back, blue scrubs, mid-30s but wearing the kind of exhaustion that ages a person 10 years in 3. She was already pale before she saw Jake's vest. After she saw it, she went white. Who are you? What happened? Is it the kids? Nina, my name is Jake Brennan. Your kids are alive, both of them, but Ethan's hurt. He's in the ER right now. Nina's hand went to the wall. Not dramatically, just the way a person reaches for something solid when the ground starts moving. How bad? He was beaten. 3 men. Behind the Texaco station on Route 66. Your daughter found us, my club, at a restaurant nearby. She came running in asking for help. We got there in time. Travis. It wasn't a question. Nina said the name like she was confirming something she'd known was coming for months. Like a patient reading their own diagnosis. Travis Holden, and 2 others, Kyle Briggs, Ray Sutter. Nina's knees buckled. Jake caught her arm. She didn't pull away. She gripped his forearm with both hands, and looked up at him with eyes that held 3 years of accumulated terror. "Lily, where's Lily?" "With Ethan, in the ambulance." She refused to leave his side. "She's not hurt?" "Scraped up feet from running across gravel. But no, he didn't touch her. Ethan made sure of that. He told her to run, and she did." Nina made a sound that wasn't a word. It was the sound of a mother processing the fact that her 14-year-old son had taken a beating to give his 6-year-old sister time to escape. Pride and agony compressed into a single, broken exhale. "I need to see them. I'll take you." They walked through the hospital together, a nurse in blue scrubs and a biker in a leather vest, drawing stares from every person they passed. Nina didn't notice. She was already somewhere else, somewhere inside her own head where the math of survival was recalculating. They found Ethan in Trauma Bay 2. His face was wrong, swollen and purple on the left side, stitches threading the gash above his eye like black railroad tracks. His right arm was splinted. An IV ran into his left hand. Monitors beeped the steady rhythm that said he was alive, but hurt. Lily was sitting in a plastic chair beside the bed, her small hand wrapped around 2 of Ethan's fingers. She'd been given hospital socks to cover her bandaged feet. She looked up when the curtain opened. "Mama." One word. That's all it took. Nina crossed the space in 3 steps and gathered Lily into her arms so tightly the little girl gasped. Then Nina reached for Ethan's hand, the one without the IV, and held it against her cheek. "I'm sorry," Nina whispered. "I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry." "Not your fault, Mom." Ethan's voice was thick, slurred from pain medication. "He found us. Wasn't your fault. I should have gone further. Another state. Another—" "Mom, stop." Ethan squeezed her hand. "Lily saved me. She found these bikers. They came. It's okay." Nina turned to Jake, who stood at the curtain's edge, feeling like an intruder in a moment too private for a stranger. "You stopped him?" "Your daughter stopped him. She made the choice to run for help. We just answered." "Don't do that." Nina's voice hardened. "Don't minimize what you did. I've been calling for help for 3 years. Police, courts, shelters, hotlines. Nobody answered. Nobody showed up. You showed up." Jake didn't have a response for that. He'd spent 15 years solving problems with his fists and his brothers and his motorcycle, and none of it had prepared him for standing in a hospital room while a mother thanked him for doing what every other system in her life had failed to do. "Travis is in custody," Jake said. "Sheriff Whitmore arrested him. Aggravated assault on a minor, plus the existing warrants." Nina closed her eyes. When she opened them, the fear was already back. "He'll make bail." "Nina, he always makes bail, do you understand? Always. I don't know where the money comes from. I don't know who pays it, but within 48 hours he walks out, and within 72 he finds us. Every single time." "Not this time." "You don't know him." Nina's voice cracked. "You saw what he did to a 14-year-old boy. That's not the worst of it. Not even close. He told me once, he looked me right in the eyes and said, 'If I can't have you, I'll take the kids. And if I can't take the kids, I'll make sure nobody has them.' He meant it. He has a plan. He always has a plan." Jake felt the cold settle again, the operational stillness, the place where emotions stepped aside and assessment took over. "What plan?" Nina glanced at Lily, who was watching with wide, absorbing eyes. Children hear everything. They understand more than adults think. "Not here," Nina said. "When?" "Tonight, after they're asleep." Jake nodded. "I'll be here." He was. At 9 p.m., after Ethan had been admitted for overnight observation, and Lily had fallen asleep curled in the hospital bed beside her brother, Nina met Jake in the hallway. She changed out of her scrubs into jeans and a sweatshirt, and she looked smaller without the uniform, more human, more fragile. 3 months ago, Nina said, Travis hired a lawyer, not for the criminal charges, for family court. He's filing for custody of Lily. Jake stared at her. He's the one who beats you, beats your son, and he's filing for custody? His lawyer is arguing that I'm an unfit mother, that I'm unstable, that I've moved the children across state lines multiple times, disrupted their education, exposed them to, and this is the word he used, dangerous associates. He's building a case. He has a contact inside CPS, someone who owes him. 3 weeks ago, a caseworker showed up at Lily's school unannounced, asked her teacher if Lily showed signs of neglect, asked if the mother seemed erratic. Based on what? Based on a fabricated report. Travis filed it anonymously, said the children were being neglected, said there were drugs in the home. All lies, but CPS has to investigate. It's the law. And every investigation goes on the record, and every record makes me look worse in family court. Jake leaned against the wall. He'd fought enemies in Afghanistan who used improvised explosive devices, ambushes, and psychological warfare. Travis Holden was using the American legal system as his weapon, and it was working. There's more, Nina said. Her voice dropped. I didn't want to tell the sheriff this because I was afraid. But Travis, the money he uses, the lawyers, the bail, it doesn't come from a job. He hasn't worked in 2 years. Where does it come from? He runs drugs, methamphetamine. I found out near the end, before I left him. He has a network, 3 counties, suppliers in Tucson, distribution through Flagstaff, Sedona, Prescott. He's not some low-level dealer, Jake. He's the operation. And the people above him, the ones supplying him, they protect him because he's profitable. Jake's mind rearranged everything. The money, the bail, the lawyer, the CPS contact. It all fit. Travis wasn't just an abusive ex with a temper. He was a drug operator with resources, connections, and a system designed to make one woman's life impossible until she either came back to him or lost everything. Why didn't you tell law enforcement? Because the last time I told someone, it got back to Travis within a week. He has people everywhere, or at least he wants me to believe he does. And when you've been beaten enough times, you stop being able to tell the difference between paranoia and survival instinct. Who did you tell? A detective in Prescott. I gave him everything I knew. Names, locations, dates. 3 days later, Travis showed up at my job, walked right into the hospital, stood in the lobby and smiled at me. Didn't say a word, didn't have to. The message was clear. The detective talked, or someone in his office did. It doesn't matter. The result was the same. I ran again, moved here. New job, new address, new school for the kids. Thought we were safe. Nina's voice broke on the last word. I keep thinking we're safe. Jake was quiet for a long time, not because he didn't know what to say, but because what he wanted to say required the kind of commitment that couldn't be taken back. Nina, I need to ask you something, and I need you to answer honestly. Okay? If Travis makes bail, and you're right, he probably will, and if he comes back, and he will, what do you do? I run again, take the kids, disappear. And how many times can you do that? Nina's silence answered for her. That's what I thought. Jake straightened. Here's what's going to happen. Tomorrow morning, I'm calling an emergency meeting with my club. Full chapter. I'm also calling a lawyer I know, Margaret Chen, former district attorney, now does pro bono work for domestic violence survivors. And I'm making a phone call to an old Army buddy who works federal law enforcement. Why federal? Because if Travis is running a meth operation across 3 counties, that's not a local problem. That's DEA territory. And if we can get the feds involved, they don't just arrest Travis. They dismantle his entire network. His money disappears. His lawyers disappear. His CPS contacts disappear. Everything he's using to terrorize you goes away. Nina searched his face for something. Doubt, hesitation, the look people get when they're making promises they can't keep. She didn't find it. Why are you doing this? Because your daughter grabbed my vest and asked me to help. That's not enough reason to take on a drug operation. It's the only reason that matters. Nina started to cry, not the controlled, quiet crying of a woman who'd learned to muffle her pain so her children wouldn't hear. This was different, raw, ugly, the kind of crying that comes when someone who's been holding up a wall for 3 years finally meets someone willing to help carry it. Jake didn't touch her, didn't try to comfort her with words. He just stood there, a man in a leather vest in a hospital hallway at 9 o'clock at night, and let a woman cry until she was ready to stop. When she did, she wiped her face with both hands and looked at him. Travis will come after you too, you know that. I know. He'll come after your club, your families. He can try. You don't understand what he's capable of. Nina, Jake's voice was steady and plain. I spent 2 years in Kandahar province getting shot at by people who were very good at killing. Travis Holden is a coward who beats women and children. He's dangerous, but he's not what I've faced before. And he's never faced anything like what's about to come at him. She held his gaze for another 3 seconds. Then she nodded. Once. Okay. Okay? I'll trust you, but Jake, if it starts to go wrong, if he starts getting close to Lily, I'm taking my kids and I'm gone. I don't care about courts or lawyers or federal investigations. My kids come first. Your kids come first, Jake agreed. That's not going to change. He left the hospital at 10 p.m., rode back to the clubhouse alone. The night air was cold and sharp, the kind of Arizona darkness that makes the stars look close enough to touch. He parked his bike, walked inside, and sat at the bar in the empty room. On the wall behind the bar hung photos, club rides, charity events, brothers who'd passed on. A framed flag from a VA hospital that read, "These men answered when called." Jake pulled out his phone and made 3 calls. The first was to Bull Donovan, club president. Emergency meeting, tomorrow, 9 a.m., full chapter, no exceptions. Bull didn't ask why. Done. The second was to Margaret Chen. He got her voicemail. Margaret, it's Jake Brennan. I've got a woman and 2 kids in a situation that's going to require everything you've got. Domestic violence, custody manipulation, drug money funding the whole thing. Call me back tonight if you can. The third call was the one that changed everything. Eddie, it's Jake. Brennan, it's been what, 4 years? 5. Listen, I need to talk to you about something, and it can't wait. I'm DEA, Jake. Nothing ever waits. What do you have? A methamphetamine distribution network operating across 3 counties in northern Arizona. Supplier connections in Tucson. The man running it is named Travis Holden, 28 years old. He's currently in county lockup on assault charges, but he'll make bail by Monday. Silence on the line. The kind of silence that told Jake that Eddie Reeves already knew the name. Jake, where did you get this information? His ex-girlfriend, she lived with him, saw the operation firsthand. She's been running from him for 3 years. Would she testify? She would if she believed her kids would be safe. How do you know her? Her 6-year-old daughter ran into a bar where I was eating breakfast and begged me to save her brother from getting beaten to death. I stopped it. Now I'm involved, and I'm not uninvolving myself. Another silence, longer this time. Jake, Travis Holden is already on our radar. He has been for 8 months. We've been building a case, but we don't have an inside witness. Everyone's too scared to talk. If this woman has first-hand knowledge of the operation, she does. Then this changes everything. But I need to meet her, and I need it to happen before Holden makes bail, because once he's out, he's going to start cleaning house. Anyone who could testify against him is going to be in danger. She's already in danger, Eddie. She's been in danger for 3 years. Then let's end it. Can you bring her to me tomorrow? I'll make it happen. Jake hung up. He sat in the empty clubhouse staring at the wall of photos. Brothers who'd answered when called. Men who'd ridden into storms because someone needed them on the other side. Tomorrow he'd ask 30 Hell's Angels to ride into a storm that involved a drug network, a corrupt CPS contact, a family court battle, and a man who'd rather burn everything down than let a woman and her children go free. He'd asked them to risk their safety, their reputations, their families. He'd asked them to stand between a monster and two kids, one with stitches in his face, one with bandages on her feet, and say, "Not on our watch." He already knew what they'd say, because that's what the club was. Not the leather, not the patches, not the bikes or the road or the reputation. It was the answer. The willingness to stand up when the rest of the world sat down. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "This is Nina. The hospital gave me your number. Ethan's sleeping. Lily asked me to tell you something." Jake typed back. "What did she say?" 3 dots. Then, "She said to tell Mr. Jake that she's not scared anymore because the bikers are here now." Jake set his phone on the bar, pressed both hands flat on the wood, breathed. Somewhere across town, a 6-year-old girl who'd run 200 yards on bleeding feet to save her brother had just told a stranger in a leather vest that he'd made her feel safe. And somewhere in a county jail cell, Travis Holden was already making phone calls, planning his next move, calculating how to reclaim what he believed belonged to him. Both of those things were true at the same time. Jake picked up his phone one more time, opened his contacts, scrolled to Brick Morrison's name. "Brick, I need you at the hospital tonight. Take Tommy and Hector with you. Park in the lot. Eyes open. Nobody gets near that room." "Already on my way, brother. I figured you'd call." "How'd you figure?" "Because I saw that little girl's face when she grabbed your vest. Whatever she asked for, you were going to give it. All of it." Jake almost smiled. "Get there fast." 10 minutes. 3 Hells Angels parked their bikes in the hospital lot at 10:47 p.m. They sat in the darkness with their engines off and their eyes on every car that entered, every shadow that moved, every door that opened. Inside, on the 3rd floor, a 14-year-old boy slept with stitches in his face and his mother's hand on his chest. His 6-year-old sister slept beside him, hospital socks on her bandaged feet, dreaming of motorcycles and men in leather who came when she called. And in a county jail cell 23 miles away, Travis Holden sat on a concrete bench and dialed a number from memory. "It's me. I need bail by Monday. And I need you to find out everything about a biker club called the Hells Angels, Flagstaff chapter. Every name, every address, every family member." The voice on the other end asked one question. "All of them," Travis said. "I want to know everything about all of them." Travis Holden made bail at 9:14 a.m. Monday morning. 48 hours. Nina had called it to the minute. Jake got the call from Sheriff Whitmore while he was standing in the Hells Angels clubhouse. 27 members seated in front of him, the emergency meeting already underway. "He's out," Whitmore said. 50,000, cash, posted by a woman named Gloria Vance. Ring a bell? No. She's a straw buyer, no visible income, no connection to Holden on paper, but the money came from somewhere, and it wasn't from selling cookies. Where is he now? Walking out the front door of county lockup as we speak. My guys are tailing him, but I can only justify that for 24 hours without a judge signing off. After that, he's a free man until trial. Jake hung up and faced his brothers. 27 men, leather vests, road-hardened faces. Some of them had ridden through the night to be here. They'd heard about the little girl. They'd heard about the boy. Word traveled fast in the club. "Travis Holden is out," Jake said. "As of 4 minutes ago." The room shifted. Not visibly, it was a change in pressure, the way air changes before a storm. Bull Donovan sat at the head of the table, 60 years old, silver hair cropped military short. He'd founded this chapter 31 years ago with 5 guys and 5 bikes. Now he commanded respect from every club in the Southwest. He hadn't spoken yet. Bull never spoke first. He listened. He calculated. Then he delivered. "Tell them everything," Bull said. Jake did. From the beginning, Lily crashing through Rusty's gate, Ethan on the ground, Travis's arrest, Nina's confession about the drug network, the custody manipulation, the CPS fabrication, the 3-year campaign of terror, and finally, the call with Eddie Reeves at the DEA. "So we're dealing with a drug trafficker," said a member named Shotgun, a retired long-haul trucker who'd ridden with the club for 20 years. "Not just some wife beater." "Both," Jake said. "And the drug money funds the abuse. It pays for the lawyers, the bail, the private investigators, the CPS contacts. Take away the drugs, you take away his power. And the DEA's involved? They've been building a case for 8 months. They don't have an inside witness. Nina is that witness. She lived with him. She saw the operation. Names, locations, supply routes. She has everything they need." The room went quiet. A member named Deacon, 45, former corrections officer, the club's voice of caution, leaned forward. "Jake, I hear you. We all hear you. But you're asking us to put this club in the middle of a federal drug investigation. You understand what that means? Every one of us gets looked at. Every business, every ride, every connection. The feds don't discriminate. They investigate everyone in the orbit." "I know. And you're okay with that? Are we clean?" "That's not the point." "It's exactly the point." Jake looked around the room. "Are we clean? Does anyone here have anything that doesn't survive federal scrutiny?" Silence. Not the uncomfortable kind, the kind that comes from men who already know the answer. "Then let them look," Jake said, "because while they're looking at us, they'll be dismantling the man who beats a 14-year-old boy with steel-toed boots and uses the court system to kidnap a 6-year-old girl." Bull raised his hand. The room stilled. "I've heard enough. Jake, what exactly are you asking for?" "3 things. First, round-the-clock security for Nina and her kids, shifts at her building, escorts to work, to school, eyes on them at all times until Travis is neutralized. Second, full support for Nina's legal defense. Margaret Chen is taking the case pro bono, but she needs documentation, witnesses, character testimony. We provide it. Third, and this is the big one, I need the club's blessing to work with the DEA, to bring Nina to them, to help build the federal case that puts Travis Holden away for good. Not months, not years, decades." Deacon spoke again. "You're asking us to work with the feds. I'm asking us to protect a woman and 2 children. The feds are how we do it permanently. Some of our guys have history with federal agencies. Bad history. You know that. I know that, and I'm standing here telling you that none of that matters more than what I saw in that parking lot on Saturday. A kid getting kicked on the ground, his little sister running on bloody feet, and every other person in that parking lot looking the other way." Bull stood up. When Bull stood, everyone paid attention. "We took an oath," Bull said. "Every man in this room. We protect the vulnerable. We defend those who can't defend themselves. We ride for something bigger than ourselves." He paused, looked at every face in the room. "This isn't complicated. A child asked us for help. We answered. We're not done answering. Vote." 27 hands, every single one. Bull nodded. "Jake, your point on this. Whatever you need, you get. Don't make us regret it." "I won't." Jake met Nina at the hospital at noon. Ethan was being discharged. His ribs were cracked, not broken, and the stitches would hold. He'd need rest, follow-ups, and time. Lily hadn't left his side for 48 hours except to use the bathroom. "Travis is out," Jake said. No softening, no preamble. Nina needed facts, not comfort. Nina's face didn't change. That's what struck Jake. There was no shock, no gasp, just the flat, dead look of a woman receiving news she'd already accepted. "How long do I have?" "You're not running this time." "Jake, listen to me. I talked to my contact at the DEA last night. His name is Eddie Reeves. He wants to meet you. Today. He says if you can provide witness testimony about Travis's drug operation, they can build a federal case. Not state, federal. That means no bail, no local judges, no connections that get him out. You want me to testify against Travis Holden? Nina said each word like she was testing its weight. The man who found me every time I ran. The man who has people inside the police, inside CPS. The man who told me he'd burn my house down with my children in it. Yes. Do you understand what you're asking? I'm asking you to fight instead of run. One time, and I'm telling you that you won't be fighting alone. Nina looked at Ethan, sitting on the hospital bed, his face a landscape of purple and black. Then at Lily, who was drawing something on a piece of paper a nurse had given her. Mama, Lily said without looking up. Mr. Jake's here. I know, baby. Are we safe now? Nina didn't answer. She looked at Jake. The question in Lily's voice was the question in her eyes. Not, are we safe, but can you make us safe? I'll meet your DEA friend, Nina said, but not at some federal building, not somewhere Travis's people might see me walk in. I'll arrange it, somewhere private. And my kids don't leave my sight. Agreed. And Jake, if at any point I feel like this is going wrong, if I feel like my children are in more danger because of what I'm doing, you pick up your kids and you go. No arguments. I'll help you disappear. You promise? I promise. The meeting happened at 3:30 that afternoon, not at a federal office, not at a police station, at the Hells Angels Clubhouse. Jake had cleared it with Bull, cleared it with Eddie Reeves, and done something he never thought he'd do, invited a federal agent into the club's home. Eddie Reeves arrived alone, plain clothes, no badge visible. He was Jake's age, same military bearing, same quiet assessment in his eyes. They'd served together at FOB Salerno in 2008. Eddie had gone into law enforcement after discharge. Jake had gone into the wind. Different paths from the same war. Nice place, Eddie said, looking around the clubhouse. Don't get comfortable. This is a one-time arrangement. Understood. Nina sat across from Eddie at the main table, Ethan beside her, Lily on her lap drawing. She was shaking, her hands, her voice. But she talked for 2 hours. Travis Holden's methamphetamine network, the supplier in Tucson, a man named Marco Estrada who operated out of an auto body shop on South 12th Avenue. The distribution points, a storage unit in Prescott, a ranch property outside Sedona, a rented house in Flagstaff that Travis used as his base. The couriers, mostly young men, early 20s, recruited from construction crews and paid in cash and product. The money, funneled through a car wash on Route 66 that Travis co-owned under a shell company. Eddie recorded everything. His face never changed, but Jake could see it, the controlled excitement of an agent who'd been circling a target for 8 months and just found the map. Nina, this is exactly what we need, but I have to be honest with you. If we move on this, Travis will know you're the source. There's no way around that. He'll figure it out. I know. Are you prepared for what that means? Agent Reeves, that man has beaten me unconscious 4 times. He's broken my arm twice. He put my son in the hospital. He's threatened to set my house on fire with my children inside. I've been preparing for this my entire life. I just never had anyone standing behind me before. Eddie looked at Jake. Something passed between them. The silent communication of 2 men who'd once trusted each other with their lives and were about to do it again. We'll need her in protective custody eventually, Eddie said to Jake, when the arrests go down. She stays with us until then. My club provides security. Jake, that's not non-negotiable. She trusts us. Her kids trust us. You put her in some federal safe house with strangers, she shuts down. You keep her where she feels safe. She stays strong enough to testify. Eddie waited. I'll need to clear it with my supervisor. Clear it fast. Travis is already out, already making calls. He's going to move against her, and he's going to do it soon. How soon? You know the answer to that. You've been watching him for 8 months. Eddie nodded slowly. He doesn't wait. He doesn't plan. When he feels threatened, he escalates immediately. Then we're already behind. Nina stood. Lily had fallen asleep in her arms, crayon still clutched in one small hand. The drawing she'd been working on was face down on the table. Eddie glanced at it. 8 motorcycles, a woman, 2 children, a wall of stick figures in black between them and a large dark shape. Across the top, in uneven pink crayon, the helpers. Eddie looked at that drawing for a long time. Then he looked at Jake. I'll have the warrants ready in 72 hours. But Jake, 72 hours is a long time when you're dealing with Travis Holden. I know. That's why we're not sleeping. That night, the security rotation began. 3 Hell's Angels at Nina's apartment building at all times. 2 in the parking lot, 1 at the stairwell entrance. Shifts rotating every 6 hours. 27 men cycling through, giving up their nights, their jobs, their routines. Nina watched them from her window the first night. Leather vests in the darkness, the orange glow of cigarettes, the low rumble of voices on radios. Men she'd never met, standing guard over her sleeping children. She called Jake at midnight. I can't sleep. That's normal. No, I mean, I can't sleep because I keep waiting for something bad to happen, and nothing's happening. For the first time in 3 years, nothing bad is happening, and I don't know what to do with that. Jake understood. Combat veterans called it hypervigilance, the inability to stand down even when the threat was gone. Your body stays wired for danger long after the danger passes, sometimes forever. It takes time, Jake said. Give yourself time. Jake, what happens if this doesn't work? If the DEA can't build the case, if Travis gets to us before... He won't. You can't know that. I can know that tonight, right now, there are 3 armed men outside your building who would die before they let anyone through that door. I can know that, and that's enough for tonight. Silence. Then, Lily asked about you today. Yeah? She asked if you were her family now. I didn't know what to say. Jake closed his eyes. What did you tell her? I told her family is the people who show up when you need them, and that you showed up. That's a good answer. She said she wants to ride a motorcycle someday. She will. Jake, thank you. I know you keep saying Lily saved us, not you, but we both know the truth. She asked for help. You could have said no. Every other person in her life has said no. You said yes. Go to sleep, Nina. Good night, Jake. But Nina didn't sleep, and Jake didn't sleep. And somewhere in Flagstaff, Travis Holden didn't sleep either. He was in a motel room on the south side of town, the kind of place that takes cash and doesn't ask for ID. He had a burner phone, a laptop, and a list. The list had 7 names on it. The first name was Nina Carter. The second was Jake Brennan. The 3rd through 7th were the Hell's Angels members, whose faces he'd memorized in that gas station parking lot. He didn't have their names yet, but he'd get them. He always got what he needed. Travis made a call. I need surveillance on an apartment building. He gave the address. I need to know how many bikers are there, what their rotation is, when they change shifts. I need to know every entrance and exit. That's going to cost. I don't care what it costs. Holden, maybe you should lay low. The charges. Don't tell me what to do. She's mine. Those kids are mine. And some bikers playing hero don't change that. And if the bikers are a problem, Travis's voice went cold. Flat. The voice of a man who'd stopped thinking of other human beings as human beings a long time ago. Then we eliminate the problem. The second twist came on Wednesday, 3 days after Travis's bail, 2 days before Eddie's federal warrants. Jake was at the clubhouse going over security schedules when Margaret Chen called. She sounded shaken, and Margaret Chen was a woman who didn't shake. Jake, we have a problem, a big one. Talk to me. I filed the counter motion in family court yesterday. Standard procedure. Present evidence of Travis's abuse history, his criminal record, the restraining order violations. Request dismissal of his custody petition. And the judge assigned to the case is Harold Fenton. Should that name mean something to me? Judge Harold Fenton has ruled in favor of fathers in contested custody cases 73% of the time. He's been reprimanded twice by the Judicial Review Board for bias. And Jake, this is the part that made me sick. His campaign for re-election last year received a significant anonymous donation. I had my investigator trace it. The money came through the same shell company that owns the car wash on Route 66. Jake went still. Travis's car wash. Travis's car wash. Judge Fenton is compromised. He's been bought. And he's the one who'll decide whether Lily stays with Nina or goes to Travis. Can we get him removed? I'm filing a recusal motion, but Fenton will fight it. And even if we win, it takes time, weeks, maybe months. And in the meantime, there's a hearing scheduled for next Friday. If Fenton rules in Travis's favor at that hearing, CPS could remove Lily from Nina's custody within 48 hours. Jake's hand tightened on the phone until the case cracked. Next Friday, that's 9 days. 9 days, and Jake, the CPS report is already in the system. Travis's fabricated claims, neglect, instability, association with dangerous individuals. Guess who qualifies as dangerous individuals in a family court filing? The Hells Angels. Travis's lawyer is arguing that Nina has exposed her daughter to a violent motorcycle gang. He has photographs. Someone's been watching you. Photos of bikers outside Nina's apartment. Photos of Lily being escorted to school by men in leather vests. In a normal context, that's protection. In family court, through the right lawyer and the right judge, it looks like a mother surrounding her child with dangerous criminals. Jake felt it, the trap closing. Travis had planned this. Every piece of protection the Hells Angels provided was being weaponized against Nina. The security they'd set up was being reframed as endangerment. The shields they built were being turned into evidence. He's using us, Jake said. He's using our protection as his ammunition. That's exactly what he's doing. And it's working. Jake hung up and called Nina. She answered on the first ring. She always answered on the first ring now. Nina, I need to tell you something. He told her about Judge Fenton, the compromised court, the photographs, the hearing in 9 days. The silence on the other end lasted so long, Jake thought the call had dropped. Nina? He's going to take Lily. Her voice was barely a whisper. Through the courts, legally, he's going to take my daughter. No, he's not. You don't understand. I do. I've been in this system. I've seen how it works. The mother is always scrutinized. The father gets benefit of the doubt. And now he has a judge in his pocket and photographs of my daughter surrounded by bikers. I'm going to lose her, Jake. I'm going to lose my baby. Listen to me. Margaret is filing a recusal motion. Eddie's federal warrants drop in 48 hours. When the DEA moves on Travis's operation, everything changes. His money disappears. His judge loses his backing. His lawyer drops him. We just need to hold the line for 9 days. 9 days is forever when someone's trying to take your child. I know, but you've survived 3 years of Travis Holden. You can survive 9 more days, and this time, you're not alone. Nina was quiet. Then, Ethan wants to talk to you. A rustling sound. Then a young voice, stronger than it had been in the hospital, but still carrying the weight of things no 14-year-old should carry. Mr. Jake? Ethan, how are you feeling? Sore, but better. Listen, Mom's scared. She won't say it, but she's thinking about running again. I can see it. She's got that look. What look? The look she gets right before she wakes us up at 2 in the morning and puts us in the car. She's done it 4 times. Each time, she thinks she's saving us. And she is. But each time, we lose more. Our house, our school, our friends, everything. We can't keep doing it. You won't have to. Promise? There it was, the same word Lily had used. Promise. Children asking a stranger to guarantee their future because every other guarantee had broken. I promise. Mr. Jake, one more thing. Yeah? Lily told me what she did, how she ran into that bar, how she grabbed your vest. She said she picked you because you look like someone who wouldn't say no. Ethan's voice wavered. She was right about you. Don't make her wrong. Jake thought about Whitmore saying the same thing in the gas station parking lot. Different words, same truth. I won't. Okay, I'm giving the phone back to Mom. Thursday, 48 hours before the federal warrants, 7 days before the custody hearing. Travis's surveillance team had been watching Nina's building for 3 days. Jake knew this because Tommy Vance had spotted a gray sedan with tinted windows parked on the same block for 36 consecutive hours, occupied by a man with a camera. Jake didn't confront the watcher. Instead, he adjusted, pulled the visible security back, moved the patrols to unmarked vehicles, borrowed trucks, civilian cars, nothing that screamed motorcycle club. The bikers traded their vests for plain jackets. From the outside, Nina's building looked unguarded. It wasn't. It was more guarded than ever. But the photographs would stop. The evidence for family court would dry up. Margaret Chen filed the recusal motion against Judge Fenton on Thursday afternoon. Within 2 hours, Jake received a call from an unknown number. He answered. Mr. Brennan, a man's voice, professional, controlled. My name is Victor Ashland. I represent Mr. Travis Holden in his family court proceedings. How did you get this number? That's not important. What's important is that you understand the position you're in. My client is seeking lawful custody of his biological daughter. Your involvement, and the involvement of your motorcycle club, is being documented and will be presented as evidence of an unsafe environment for the child. Your client beat a 14-year-old boy unconscious. My client is presumed innocent until proven guilty. His assault charges are a separate matter from the custody proceedings. Your client runs a methamphetamine operation. Silence. Brief. Telling. That's a very serious allegation, Mr. Brennan. I'd be careful making statements like that without evidence. I've got evidence. Then I suggest you share it with the appropriate authorities rather than making threats over the phone. It's not a threat, counselor. It's a heads up. Your client is about to become very expensive and very radioactive. You might want to reconsider which side of this you're standing on. Jake hung up. His hands were steady, but his heart was hammering. He just tipped his hand. Ashland would tell Travis. Travis would know they had information about the drug operation. And Travis would accelerate his timeline. Jake called Eddie immediately. We need to move the warrants up. Jake, I told you, 72 hours. We don't have 72 hours. Travis's lawyer just called me. I may have said too much. If Travis knows we're onto the drug operation, he'll start destroying evidence tonight. Eddie swore. How much did you tell the lawyer? Enough. Jake, if he moves the product, burns the records, alerts his suppliers, 8 months of investigation goes up in smoke. Then don't let it. Move tonight. Move right now. I need judicial authorization. I need a signed warrant from a federal judge. That takes... Call your judge. Wake him up. Tell him a drug trafficker with $50,000 in bail money is about to destroy evidence and possibly murder a woman and 2 children. See how fast he signs. Another silence. Then Eddie's voice changed. Harder. Decision made. Give me 6 hours. You've got 4, because that's how long it'll take Travis to clean house once his lawyer makes that call. Jake hung up, looked at the clock. 6:47 p.m., Thursday. 4 hours until Eddie moved or didn't move. 7 days until a compromised judge could take Lily from her mother. And somewhere in Flagstaff, a man with nothing left to lose was about to learn that the walls were closing in. Jake dialed Brick. Full alert, everyone, every brother. Get to Nina's building. Get to the storage unit in Prescott. Get to the ranch in Sedona. Eyes on everything. If Travis moves, we see it. If his people move, we follow them. Jake, that's every man we've got. I know. What about sleep? Sleep's canceled. Brick almost laughed. Almost. On our way. The clock started. 4 hours. Everything balanced on a razor's edge. A federal agent trying to wake a judge. A drug dealer deciding whether to run or fight. And 30 Hell's Angels spreading across northern Arizona like a net, waiting for something to break. At 8:22 p.m., something broke. Tommy Vance, watching the storage unit in Prescott from a borrowed pickup truck, radioed in. Jake, 2 vehicles just pulled up to the storage facility. They're loading boxes into a van, moving fast. Travis was cleaning house. The 4 hours Jake had given Eddie had just become 0. Jake grabbed his phone and dialed Eddie before Tommy's radio transmission even finished crackling. Eddie, they're moving, right now. 2 vehicles at the Prescott storage unit loading product into a van. Your 72 hours just became 0. How do you know about the storage unit? Nina told us. I told you. Now are you going to move, or are you going to ask me questions while 8 months of evidence drives away in a van? Eddie's voice changed. The careful, procedural federal agent disappeared. The soldier showed up. Give me the address. Jake gave it. My guy Tommy is watching from across the street. 2 men loading. No weapons visible, but assume they're armed. The van is white, no markings. They've been at it for about 6 minutes. Tell your man to stay put. Do not approach. Do not engage. I'm scrambling a team out of the Phoenix field office. They can be in Prescott in 40 minutes. 40 minutes? Eddie, they'll be gone in 15. Then your man follows the van, at a distance, and he calls me with a location the second they stop. Copy. Jake switched to the radio. Tommy, do not approach. When they leave, you follow. Keep distance. Call Eddie Reeves at this number the second they stop moving. He read off Eddie's cell. Got it, Tommy said. Jake, they're loading heavy. This isn't a cleanup. This is a full evacuation. Whatever's in that unit, they're taking all of it. Stay on them. Jake's next call was to Brick at Nina's building. Status. Quiet. Too quiet. No sedan tonight. Nobody watching. Because they pulled the surveillance to help with the move. Travis is consolidating. He knows something's coming. What do you need? Double the watch. If Travis is pulling resources to move product, he might also be pulling resources to make a move on Nina while we're distracted. Don't take your eyes off that building. Nobody's getting through, brother. Not tonight. Jake paced the clubhouse. His mind ran scenarios the way it had in Afghanistan. Threat assessment, resource allocation, contingency planning. Travis was moving on 2 fronts. The drug operation was being evacuated. That meant the legal front, the custody hearing, the CPS case, was about to become his primary weapon. If the drugs disappeared, Travis could claim Nina was lying. No evidence, no operation, no case. Just a bitter ex-girlfriend making accusations. And if Judge Fenton was still on the bench next Friday, Travis could walk into that courtroom clean. No drug charges, no evidence. Just a concerned father seeking custody of his daughter from an unstable mother who associated with a motorcycle gang. Jake called Margaret Chen. Margaret, how fast can you escalate the recusal motion on Fenton? I filed it yesterday. The Judicial Review Board has 30 days to respond. We don't have 30 days. We might not have 30 hours. Travis is moving his drug operation tonight. If the evidence disappears before the DEA can seize it, the federal case collapses. And if the federal case collapses, Travis walks into family court with clean hands. Margaret was quiet for 3 seconds. There's another option. I didn't want to use it because it's a grenade, but we're past careful. I have a former colleague on the State Attorney General's office. If I can show her evidence that a sitting family court judge received campaign funds from a criminal enterprise, she can issue an emergency suspension. No 30-day review. Immediate. Do it. Jake, this burns bridges. The legal community in this state is small. If I'm wrong about Fenton, you're not wrong. The money trail is there. Travis's shell company to Fenton's campaign, you traced it yourself. I traced a connection. A prosecutor needs proof. Bank records, transaction logs. That takes subpoena power I don't have. But the DEA does. Another pause. You want me to coordinate with your federal contact? I want you to call Eddie Reeves tonight and tell him exactly what you told me about Fenton. If the DEA is raiding Travis's operation, they can seize financial records. Those records will show the payments to Fenton. 2 birds, 1 warrant. That's actually smart. Don't sound so surprised. I'll call him now. Jake hung up and checked the clock. 8:41 p.m. 19 minutes since Tommy spotted the van. His phone rang. Tommy. They're moving, heading south on Highway 89. 2 vehicles, the van and a black pickup. Driving fast but not speeding. They know what they're doing. Stay on them. Eddie's team is 40 minutes out. Jake, I'm one guy in a borrowed truck. If they spot me, they won't. You drove long haul for 20 years. You know how to tail a vehicle. Tailing an 18-wheeler is different from tailing a drug runner. Tommy, stay on them. Staying on them, Jake called Hector Ruiz, who was watching the Sedona Ranch property. Anything? Dark, no movement, no vehicles. If they're evacuating, they haven't hit this location yet. They will. The Prescott unit is first because it's the main storage. Sedona's the backup. Travis will send someone here next. When they show up, you follow. Same protocol. Do not engage. Understood. 9:07 p.m. Tommy called. Van stopped. They pulled into a property south of Camp Verde, some kind of ranch or farm. Dirt road, gated entrance. I'm parked half a mile out. I can see headlights through the trees. New location? Has to be. Nina never mentioned this place. Call Eddie. Give him the coordinates. Already dialing. Jake's phone rang again almost immediately. This time it was a number he didn't recognize. He answered. Brennan. Travis Holden's voice. Calm, almost cheerful. We need to talk. Jake's blood went cold, then hot, then cold again. He gripped the phone and kept his voice level. How did you get this number? Same way I get everything. I asked the right people. Listen, I know what you're doing. I know about the DEA. I know about Margaret Chen. I know about the recusal motion. I know everything. Then you know you're done. Travis laughed. It was a wrong sound. A sound that didn't match anything human. Done? I'm just getting started. You think seizing some product matters? You think arresting a few guys changes anything? I've rebuilt before. I'll rebuild again. But here's what you need to understand, Brennan. What I can't rebuild, I burn. And what I can't burn, I bury. Is that a threat? It's a fact. Nina belongs to me. Lily belongs to me. You inserted yourself into something you don't understand, and now you've made yourself a variable I need to eliminate. Come try. I don't need to come to you. That's the part you haven't figured out yet. I don't need to come to Nina's apartment. I don't need to go through your bikers. I just need one phone call. One phone call, and a CPS caseworker shows up at Nina's door tomorrow morning. One phone call, and Lily is removed for emergency placement. One phone call, and by the time your lawyers and your federal friends sort it out, my daughter is with me. Legally. Through the system you think is going to save her. Jake's stomach dropped. He'd prepared for physical threats, surveillance, intimidation, even violence. But Travis had just described something worse, using Child Protective Services as a kidnapping tool. Legal abduction, a system designed to protect children, weaponized to steal one. You won't get away with it. I already have, twice before, in 2 different states. CPS removes the child on an emergency basis. Father files for temporary custody. Sympathetic judge grants it. By the time the mother proves the report was false, the child has been in the father's care for weeks, and the court treats that as the new status quo. It's elegant, it's legal, and it works. Not this time. What's different this time? Your bikers, your lawyer, your DEA buddy? None of them can stop a CPS order. None of them have jurisdiction in family court. You can surround her building with 100 motorcycles, and a caseworker with a court order walks right through. And your bikers, your big, scary bikers, either step aside or get arrested for interfering with Child Protective Services. There's no version of this where you win, Brennan. There never was. The line went dead. Jake stood in the empty clubhouse, phone pressed to his ear, listening to nothing. His hands were shaking, not from fear, from the realization that Travis Holden was smarter than he'd estimated, more methodical, more patient. The beating in the parking lot, that was his weakness, his lack of control. But this, the legal manipulation, the CPS weaponization, the systematic dismantling of a mother's rights, this was his strength, and he'd been perfecting it for years. Jake called Margaret. She answered on the first ring. Margaret, new problem. Travis just called me. He's planning to trigger an emergency CPS removal of Lily. Tomorrow morning, fabricated report, emergency placement. He's done it before in other states. Margaret's voice went sharp. He told you this? Directly, on the phone. He's not even hiding it. That's either stupidity or confidence. Can you prove the call happened? My phone logs it, but he used a burner. It'll trace to nothing. Okay, listen carefully. An emergency CPS removal requires a signed order from a family court judge. In Coconino County, that's Judge Fenton. Judge Fenton, who is compromised, who will sign whatever Travis's lawyer puts in front of him. Jake, if Fenton signs an emergency removal order, it's legally binding. Even if we appeal immediately, the removal happens first. Lily goes into temporary placement, which, if Travis's lawyer is ready, means she goes to Travis within hours. How do we stop it? Two ways. First, we get Fenton suspended before tomorrow morning. That means my contact at the AG's office needs to act tonight. Second, even if the removal order is signed, it needs to be served by a CPS caseworker. If we can get to the caseworker first, if we can show them the fabricated nature of the report, they have discretion to delay the removal pending investigation. Who's the caseworker? I don't know yet. CPS assigns them when the report is filed. But I know people in that office. Let me make calls. Make them fast. 9:32 p.m. Jake called Nina. He didn't want to. Every call added weight to a woman already carrying more than any person should bear. But she needed to know. Nina, Travis called me. He told her everything. The CPS threat, the emergency removal plan, the compromised judge, the timeline. Nina didn't scream, didn't cry, didn't panic. Her voice went flat and dead, and that was worse than all of those things combined. He did this to my friend, in Montana, 3 years ago. Her name was Sarah. He helped her ex-husband do exactly what he just described to you. Emergency CPS removal based on a fabricated report. By the time Sarah got a hearing, her daughter had been with the father for 6 weeks. The court said changing custody again would be disruptive to the child. Sarah never got her daughter back. That's not going to happen here. You keep saying that. You keep saying, that won't happen, and not this time, and I promise. But you're fighting a man who has been doing this for years. He knows the system better than your lawyer does. He knows the loopholes. He knows the weak points. He knows exactly which pressure to apply and when. Nina, if they come for Lily tomorrow, I'm taking her and I'm running. I don't care about the case. I don't care about the DEA. I don't care about anything except keeping my daughter. If you run, he wins. You become the unstable mother who fled with the child. Every court in the country sides with him. At least Lily would be with me. For how long? He found you every time. You said it yourself. And next time, you won't have us. The silence stretched. Jake could hear Lily in the background, laughing at something Ethan said. The sound of a child who didn't know that her entire future was being decided by phone calls in the dark. "What do you need me to do?" Nina finally said. "Stay put. Don't run. Trust the process one more night." "One more night? That's all I've got left, Jake." "That's all we need." 10:15 p.m. Eddie Reeves called. "Jake, we got the van. Camp Verde property. My Phoenix team is on site. We've been watching for 30 minutes. They're unloading into a barn on the property. Estimated 60 to 80 pounds of methamphetamine. That's the whole operation. It's enough. I've got a federal judge on the phone right now. Warrants are being signed as we speak. We move at midnight." "Eddie, there's another piece, the financial records. Travis has been funneling drug money through a car wash on Route 66 into a shell company. That shell company made a payment to a family court judge named Harold Fenton. I need those financial records seized tonight." "Jake, I can't just add locations to a federal warrant like items on a grocery list." "You can if they're part of the same criminal enterprise. The car wash is where the money gets laundered. The money goes to the judge. The judge is about to sign an illegal custody order that removes a 6-year-old girl from her mother. It's all connected. One operation, one warrant." Eddie went quiet. Jake could practically hear him thinking. "I'll add the car wash, but Jake, if the financial records don't show what you think they show, they will. You're betting a lot on that." "I'm betting on Nina Carter, who lived with this man for 3 years and watched every dollar he moved. She hasn't been wrong about anything yet." Midnight. We move at midnight. Stay off the radio. Stay away from all target locations. And Jake, keep your people away from the Camp Verde property. If any Hell's Angels are within a mile of that raid, defense attorneys will claim contamination of evidence. Understood. We'll be at Nina's building, nowhere else. Good. And Jake, thank you. We've been chasing this network for 8 months. Your girl Nina just handed us the whole thing in one conversation. She's not my girl. She's a mother trying to keep her kids alive. Same thing tonight. 11:47 p.m. Jake rode to Nina's building. Brick met him in the parking lot. All quiet? Dead quiet. No watchers, no vehicles, nothing. That means he's expecting CPS to do his work for him tomorrow. He doesn't need to come here. He just needs a judge to sign a piece of paper. Can we stop it? Margaret's working on it. Eddie's raiding the drug operation at midnight. If they seize the financial records from the car wash, we can prove Fenton is bought. That gets him suspended. No judge, no order. No order, no removal. That's a lot of ifs, brother. I know. Jake went inside. Nina was awake, sitting at the kitchen table, staring at nothing. Ethan was asleep on the couch, his bruised face turned toward the ceiling. Lily was asleep in the bedroom, the door cracked open, a nightlight casting a warm glow. You should sleep, Jake said. I packed a bag, Nina said. For Lily, change of clothes, her toothbrush, her favorite stuffed animal, her birth certificate, her social security card, everything she'd need if I had to grab her and go. Jake looked at the bag by the front door. Small, pink, a child's entire life compressed into something a mother could carry while running. You won't need it. I've packed that bag 11 times in 3 years. Every single time I've needed it. This is the last time. You don't know that. No, but I believe it. And right now, belief is all we've got. Nina looked at him, really looked at him, not at the vest or the scar or the road-worn face, at the man. Who are you, Jake Brennan? Before the club, before the bikes, who were you? A kid from Ohio who joined the Army at 18 because he didn't know what else to do, served 2 tours, came home broken, found the club, found a reason to keep going. Family? Ex-wife, no kids. She left when the nightmares got bad. Can't blame her. Do you still have nightmares? Different ones now. Nina almost smiled. Almost. What do you dream about now? Lately? A little girl running across a parking lot with blood on her feet, and me not getting there in time. But you did get there in time. In the dream, I don't. They sat in silence, the kind of silence that isn't empty, the kind that two people share when they've been through enough to know that words aren't always the point. Midnight. Jake's phone buzzed. A text from Eddie. 2 words. We're moving. Jake closed his eyes. Somewhere in Camp Verde, federal agents were converging on a barn full of methamphetamine. Somewhere on Route 66, another team was hitting the car wash, seizing computers, hard drives, financial records. Somewhere in Prescott and Sedona, more teams were shutting down every node of Travis Holden's network simultaneously. And somewhere in a motel on the south side of Flagstaff, Travis Holden was sleeping, or planning, or staring at the ceiling, believing he was still in control. 12:17 a.m. Eddie called. Camp Verde is secured, 73 pounds of methamphetamine seized, 2 arrests, both cooperating. The car wash? Teams on site now, computers seized, financial records being cataloged. Jake, initial review shows wire transfers to 6 different entities, including a campaign fund registered to a Coconino County judicial candidate. Fenton, we'll need forensic accounting to confirm, but it's there, in black and white. Can Margaret use this for an emergency suspension? I'm sending her a preliminary report right now. It's enough for the AG's office to act. Jake looked at Nina, who was watching him with both hands pressed against her mouth, eyes wide, barely breathing. It's happening, Jake said. They got the drugs. They got the money trail. They got the connection to Fenton. Nina's hands dropped to the table. She let out a sound that was half sob, half laugh. The kind of release that happens when a pressure you've been holding for years suddenly lifts by a single, critical degree. Is it enough? Margaret will know. 1:08 a.m. Margaret Chen called. She was wide awake. Her voice carried the sharp energy of a lawyer who'd just been handed the weapon she needed. The AG's office is issuing an emergency suspension of Judge Fenton, effective 6 a.m. He'll be notified by courier. His docket is frozen. Every pending case, including Travis's custody petition, is reassigned to Judge Patricia Reeves. Who's Reeves? Former domestic violence prosecutor, 15 years on the bench. Zero tolerance for fabricated CPS reports. Zero tolerance for custody manipulation. She's exactly who we need. And the CPS removal? Without Fenton to sign the order, there's no emergency removal. Travis's lawyer can refile with Reeves, but she'll take one look at his record and throw it out. It's over, Jake. The legal threat is neutralized. Jake put the phone on speaker so Nina could hear. Margaret repeated everything. Nina covered her face with both hands. Her shoulders shook. No sound, just the trembling of a woman who'd been bracing for impact and felt the blow miss. Thank you, Nina whispered. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, Margaret said. Thank me when Travis is in federal custody and the custody case is dismissed, which, based on what the DEA just seized, should be about 48 hours from now. 2:33 a.m. The final call, Eddie Reeves. His voice carried something new, satisfaction. The quiet satisfaction of a hunter who'd finally cornered his prey. Jake, we picked up Travis Holden 20 minutes ago, motel on South Milton. He was packing a bag, had $40,000 in cash, 3 burner phones, and a loaded .45. He's in federal custody, no bail. Not this time, not ever. Jake set the phone down on the kitchen table. He looked at Nina. They have him. Nina stood up from the table. She walked to the bedroom door, opened it, and looked at her daughter sleeping in a pool of nightlight, blonde hair spread across the pillow, one arm wrapped around a stuffed rabbit. She stood there for a long time, not moving, not speaking, just watching her daughter sleep the way only a mother watches, memorizing the peace of it, the safety of it, the miracle of a child who is still here, still whole. still hers. Then she walked back to the kitchen table, sat down across from Jake Brennan, and said 5 words. He can never come back? Never. Nina put her head on the table and wept, not from fear, not from pain, from the absence of both. From the sudden, staggering weight of relief that comes when a 3-year war ends at a kitchen table at 2:30 in the morning, and the only sounds are a mother crying, a clock ticking, and 2 children breathing safely in their sleep. Jake sat with her. He didn't touch her, didn't speak. He just sat in a plastic kitchen chair in a small apartment in Flagstaff, Arizona, and let a woman feel safe for the first time in 3 years. Outside, Brick Morrison leaned against his motorcycle and watched the stars. His phone buzzed. A text from Jake. 2 words. It's over. Brick read it twice. Then he looked up at the 3rd-floor window where a nightlight glowed warm and steady. No, brother, he said quietly to nobody. It's just beginning. The first morning without fear felt wrong to Nina. She woke at 5:47 a.m. the way she always did. Heart pounding, hands reaching for Lily, ears scanning for sounds that meant danger. But the sounds weren't there. No truck engine outside, no heavy footsteps, no voice through the walls that made her blood freeze. Just birds, just Ethan snoring softly on the couch, just Lily breathing beside her, still asleep, one small hand curled around Nina's wrist, like she was holding on even in her dreams. Nina lay there for 20 minutes, staring at the ceiling, waiting for the fear to come back. It didn't. And that absence, that empty space where terror used to live, was the most disorienting thing she'd ever felt. Her phone buzzed. Margaret Chen. It's done. Judge Fenton was served his suspension at 6 a.m. His office is locked. His docket is frozen. Judge Reeves has been assigned all pending cases, including Travis's custody petition. She reviewed the file this morning and dismissed it outright. Her words were, and I quote, "This petition is a transparent attempt to weaponize the family court system against a domestic violence survivor. Dismissed with prejudice." With prejudice, Nina, that means it can never be refiled. Nina couldn't speak. She pressed the phone against her ear and breathed. There's more, Margaret said. The CPS investigation based on Travis's fabricated report has been closed. The caseworker reviewed the evidence, including Travis's federal arrest, and determined the report was filed in bad faith. It's been expunged from your record. As far as the system is concerned, it never happened. It never happened, Nina repeated, like she was testing whether the words were real. You're clear, completely, full custody, no open investigations, no pending actions. Your children are yours, Nina. Nobody can take them. Nina hung up and looked at Lily, still sleeping, still holding her wrist, still trusting that Mama would be there when she opened her eyes. We're safe, baby, Nina whispered. We're actually safe. 2 weeks later, the federal indictments came down. Travis Holden, Kyle Briggs, Ray Sutter, Marco Estrada, the Tucson supplier, 11 other members of the distribution network, conspiracy to manufacture and distribute methamphetamine, interstate drug trafficking, money laundering, assault on a minor, attempted kidnapping, witness intimidation, corruption of a public official. The evidence was overwhelming. 73 pounds of methamphetamine, financial records tracing $2.3 million through the car wash shell company, wire transfers to Judge Fenton's campaign fund, phone records, surveillance footage, and Nina's testimony, detailed, precise, devastating, corroborated by every piece of physical evidence the DEA had spent 8 months assembling. Travis's lawyer, Victor Ashland, withdrew from the case the day the indictments were announced. No explanation, no statement. He simply filed a motion to withdraw and disappeared from the legal record like a man who'd realized exactly which side of history he was standing on. Travis Holden went to trial 4 months later. He didn't take a plea deal. He told his public defender he'd rather die than admit defeat. The jury didn't care about his preferences. They deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty. Every count. The sentencing hearing was held on a Tuesday. Nina attended. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. She sat in the gallery with Ethan on one side and Lily on the other, and she watched as a federal judge sentenced Travis Holden to 22 years in federal prison. No parole, no early release, no appeal that any court would entertain. Travis looked at Nina as they led him away, not with rage this time, not with that broken, predatory smile. He looked at her with something she'd never seen in his eyes before. Defeat. Total, irreversible defeat. The look of a man who'd spent his entire life believing he could control everything, finally facing the one thing he couldn't control, the consequences of his own cruelty. Nina held his gaze. She didn't flinch. She didn't look away. She let him see it. The woman he'd beaten, hunted, terrorized for 3 years, sitting upright in a courtroom with her children beside her, free. Then she stood up, took Lily's hand, and walked out into the sunlight. That evening, the Hells Angels threw a barbecue at the clubhouse. Not a formal event, not a ceremony, just burgers and beer, and 30 men in leather vests who'd given up their sleep, their schedules, and their safety for 2 months to protect a woman and 2 kids they'd never met before a Saturday morning in July. Nina arrived with Ethan and Lily. She'd never been to the clubhouse before. She stood in the doorway and looked at the wall behind the bar. The photos of rides and charity events, the framed flag from the VA hospital, the faces of men who showed up when called. And in the center of the wall, something new. A crayon drawing in a simple black frame. 8 motorcycles. A woman. 2 children. A wall of stick figures in leather between them, and a large, dark shape. Across the top, in uneven pink crayon, the helpers. Lily saw it and gasped. "That's my drawing. Mama, they put my drawing on the wall." "I see it, baby." Jake walked over holding 2 sodas, one for Ethan, one for Lily. He'd cleaned up, trimmed his beard. The scar still ran from ear to jaw, but his eyes were different, lighter, like something that had been pressing on him for years had eased by a fraction. "Place of honor," Jake said, nodding at the drawing, "right next to the VA flag." "You framed it," Nina said. "Brick framed it. I just hung it." It's a crayon drawing by a 6-year-old. It's a reminder of why we do what we do. Ethan stepped forward. His face had healed. The stitches were out. The bruises faded to yellow-green shadows that would disappear in another week. He stood straighter now, not because his ribs had mended, but because something inside him had shifted. The hunted look was gone. In its place was something steadier, something that looked like the beginning of the man he'd become. "Mr. Jake, I wanted to say something." "Go ahead." "When I was on the ground behind that gas station, getting kicked, I thought, this is it. Nobody's coming, because nobody ever came before. Mom called the police and they came too late. She got restraining orders and they didn't work. She moved us across state lines and he found us. Every time I thought someone would help, they didn't. So when I was on that ground, I stopped believing anyone would come." Ethan paused. His jaw worked. 14 years old, trying to say something that mattered without breaking. But Lily believed. She ran on bleeding feet to a bar full of strangers because she still believed someone would help. And you did. You came. And I need you to know, you didn't just save me from Travis. You saved me from thinking the world doesn't care. Because it does. You proved it does. Jake put his hand on Ethan's shoulder. He didn't squeeze, didn't pull the boy into a hug, just rested his hand there. The weight of one man telling another, "I hear you." "Your sister saved you, Ethan. She's the one who ran." "She ran to you. That's the part that matters." Lily tugged on Jake's vest, the same gesture she'd made that Saturday morning. Small fingers, big need. But this time she wasn't crying. She was grinning. "Mr. Jake, I have a question." Shoot, can girls ride motorcycles? Jake knelt to her level, eye to eye, the same position he'd taken when a terrified child had begged him for help. But this time, there was no blood, no urgency, just a 6-year-old girl with bandaged feet and a question about her future. Lily, some of the best riders I've ever known are women, tougher than most men, faster too. When I grow up, I want to be a biker, and I want to help people, like you helped us. Then you will. Promise? Promise. 6 months later, the Hells Angels organized the first annual Ride for the Voiceless, a charity ride benefiting domestic violence shelters, children's advocacy centers, and legal aid for survivors across Arizona. 800 riders from 5 states showed up. The parade through Flagstaff lasted 45 minutes, a river of chrome and thunder that rattled windows and stopped traffic and made people stand on sidewalks and stare. At the front of the ride, Jake Brennan. Behind him, 30 Hells Angels from the Flagstaff chapter. Behind them, hundreds of riders from clubs across the Southwest who'd heard the story and wanted to be part of something that mattered. The ride raised $120,000. At the ceremony afterward, Nina spoke. She'd been practicing for weeks. Ethan had helped her edit the speech. Lily had added one line, dictated to her mother with the absolute authority of a child who knows exactly what needs to be said. 6 months ago, my daughter ran into a roadside bar and grabbed a stranger's leather vest. She didn't see a biker. She didn't see tattoos or scars or a motorcycle gang. She saw strength. She saw someone who might say yes when the whole world had been saying no. Nina looked at Jake. People see leather and assume danger, but I see leather and remember the day danger wore a familiar face, and strangers in leather became my family's salvation. These men, these Hells Angels, didn't ask what was in it for them. They didn't calculate the risk. They stood up, they showed up, and they stayed until it was over. Lily walked to the microphone. She carried a painted canvas, her updated version of the crayon drawing. More detailed now. 8 bikers in a circle, shields raised, protecting a woman, a boy, and a girl. Above them in careful red letters, "Sometimes heroes ride Harleys." She presented it to Jake. He took it with both hands. "For the clubhouse," Lily said, "so new people know." Know what? That if someone asks for help, you say yes. The crowd erupted. Bikers, survivors, families, officers, strangers. A standing ovation that lasted 2 full minutes. 1 year later, Nina became the director of a domestic violence advocacy center, partnering with the Hells Angels' newly established Guardian Shield program, a network providing security escorts, safe transport, and legal referrals for families fleeing abuse. The program expanded to 12 states within 18 months. Ethan joined the school boxing team, trained hard, won his first match by decision, dedicated every fight the same way. "For my sister, the bravest person I know." Jake kept riding, kept showing up, kept answering calls he never expected to receive. He spoke at community events, schools, veterans groups. His message never changed. You don't need a badge or a cape. You just need to answer when someone asks for help. Years later, Lily Carter stood at a podium in a graduation gown. Valedictorian, 18 years old, blonde hair, her mother's steady eyes, her brother's quiet courage. The audience filled the auditorium, classmates, teachers, families. And in the front row, a man in a leather vest with a scar from his ear to his jaw, sitting between a woman in a blue dress and a young man with a faded scar above his left eye. Lily's speech was short. She didn't need many words. She'd learned that from Jake. The right words matter more than many words. When I was 6 years old, I ran into a bar full of strangers on bleeding feet and begged them to save my brother. I didn't know if anyone would listen. I didn't know if anyone would care. But a man named Jake Brennan stood up, and then his brother stood up. And they didn't just save my brother that day. They saved my mother. They saved me. They saved our future. She looked at Jake. His eyes were red. He didn't bother hiding it. Heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they wear leather and answer when a little girl in a pink dress asks them to save her brother. I'm standing here today because 12 strangers decided that my family was worth fighting for. She paused. The auditorium was silent. I will spend the rest of my life making sure no child ever has to run alone. Standing ovation. Every person in that room on their feet. Jake didn't stand. He sat in his chair, hands on his knees, looking up at a young woman who'd once been a terrified child with blood on her feet and faith in her heart. He thought about that Saturday morning at Rusty's, the bell that didn't chime right, the small figure bursting through the gate, the desperate hands grabbing his vest, the words that changed everything. Please help. They're beating my brother. He'd answered. That was all. He'd stood up when a child asked him to stand. And the rest, all of it, every rescue and every raid, and every sleepless night, and every mile ridden, came from that single moment of choosing to say yes. Sometimes the bravest cry for help interrupts the quietest morning. And what begins as breakfast among strangers ends as a rescue that transforms lives, proves that family isn't blood, but who shows up when it matters, and reminds us all that the only thing standing between a child's terror and a child's future is one person willing to answer. Jake Brennan answered, and a little girl in a pink dress never had to run alone again.